welcome to Hope Today. Thank you for joining us for this special broadcast highlighting some amazing stories of real people from right here in our community. Winston Churchill was once asked, what is his country's greatest weapon against Hitler? And without a moment's hesitation, he said, it's what our greatest weapon has always been, hope. Well, today you're going to experience hope. You're going to hear from some of our special guests, ordinary people just like you and me. And yet when they encountered some major obstacles in life, what happened next in their stories is remarkable. I mean, imagine coming out of some of the most difficult, dark moments of life, yet emerging with more hope than ever. Hope is the expectation that something good will happen. So I encourage you, stay tuned and let's enjoy these dramatic turnaround stories and discover how you can experience hope.
I was born in the Dominican Republic, and growing up with 8 brothers and sisters, we didn't have much. My parents and grandparents took me to church when I was young, and I learned about prayer and focusing on my faith. It was always my dream to play in the NBA, to play basketball in the United States. My prayer began to be answered when a recruiter saw me playing and invited me to Texas to play high school basketball. From there, I went to LSU, then Miami, and finally my dream became realized playing in the NBA for the Milwaukee Bucks and Washington Bullets. There are many temptations in the life of an NBA player. The money, women, drug, it's all there if you choose it. But I kept my focus on God. Through prayer, He sustained me and my faith in Him so that I always had a strong foundation to lean on. Today, my boys are playing basketball as well. One is in high school, another at Michigan, and my older is in the NBA with Atlanta Hawks. I want people to know they can reach their dreams and live a life that honors God, and that with the Bible and prayer, we draw closer to the Father, and He's always faithful to us.
Tito, thank you for being with us today, and what an amazing story you have. And so thank you for being with us. You know, I've talked to so many people that, and kids specifically, that all want to be in the NBA. How important was your faith in you actually becoming in the NBA?
Thank you, Pastor Kevin. I believe that my faith was the key, to become, what I want. Since I was a little kid growing up in the Dominican Republic, that was my dream. Come to the United States and play professional basketball. But the most important thing was, my faith in the Lord Jesus Christ. As early age, my dad introduced me, to the gospel of Jesus Christ, by praying with me and teaching me the Bible, and that stuck with me into today. And I just want to give God the glory and the honor to give me the opportunity to come to this country when I was 16 years old. It was a huge challenge for me because when I first came to the United States, I didn't speak any English at all, only Spanish and little French. And but I never got discouraged because my daddy told me always, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. And that stuck with me.
Well, talk to me a little bit about how challenging that was for you, from coming from the Dominican Republic to America, not even speaking the language. How was that?
It was hard. It was hard in the way that when I left the country, I didn't know where I was going. I knew I'm gonna be living with a family in Texas, Houston, Texas, but I don't know what I'm gonna face because, like I said, the language barrier, it was hard for me, to come to a country, without knowing the language. But my faith in Christ, because the Bible said they will live by faith, not by sight. My faith in Christ, kept me, focusing the someday I'm gonna become what I wanna be, my dream, my vision, which was a professional basketball player.
Your dad left you an incredible, really a beautiful legacy of faith and prayer. Can you talk a little bit about your dad and his role in your life?
I can say my dad and also my grandmother, they took a huge part of my life. When I was younger, they took me to church. I was trying to tell my kid, and all the kids that that was my only drug. They drug me to church. In Dominican Republic, you go to church every single day.
Every day.
Every day you have to go to church. They have services in church. And my dad, my grandmother, I had to go to church with them almost every single day. And then that kept me strong, my faith. So because they built, a strong foundation on me by teaching me that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. No matter what you're going through, or no matter what you're facing, you cannot keep your focus. If you cannot, you have to stay your focus on Jesus. And then that's what he taught me when I was growing up, and that's what I grew up with, with a belief in me, and that helped me, to become, who I am today.
That's wonderful. So many that make it professionally as an athlete, we unfortunately watch their lives crash and burn. But that's not your story. How did your faith in Jesus help you continue to succeed in life?
Well, that was the key, when I first came to the United States, to keep, my focus on Jesus, no matter what I'm going through. I mean, it was hard for me in the beginning because I kind of grew cold a little bit, but I never depart from my faith because the strong foundation that my dad and my grandmother, left, the legacy they left on me, kept me focused. Because it is easy, to focus on the pleasure, when you become a professional basketball player, the money, the women's, the places that people are trying to take you. And then in me, I never kept my focus, I never stopped, looking, all the things they taught me when I was younger. You're gonna be famous. My daddy said one day, you're gonna be famous, you're gonna have money, you're gonna be in good position. But he said, the true riches, when you have Jesus in your heart. And that's what I kept, all this time. I did have some struggle. I had my up and down like everybody else. But my faith in Christ, in God, kept me, to go the way I wanted to go.
That's such a great legacy. And it's also wonderful to see that you're now passing it on to your kids. Because you have a son playing professional basketball, you have a son playing college basketball and high school basketball. How are you passing along that legacy of faith and prayer to your kids?
Well, I'm trying to teach them, the same thing that I learned when I was younger. My daddy always, introduced me, the best way, to live your life, is having Jesus in your heart. And then on my kid, when they were younger, I brought my kid to Mount Hope Church. Al, which is the older, John and Josh, when they were a kid, they were coming to Mount Hope Church. And today, I feel delight because, my older son, he's serving God. He just got baptized the other day. And that was the legacy, that I left him, when he was here living with me, here in Michigan before he went to Florida and Atlanta. So he's baptized today. He attended church in Atlanta, Georgia. And then that makes me very happy. So my key right now is just to keep praying for them and not to push them, not to force them, but to tell them, the legacy, that I will live on them, I want to live on them is, they need to, to have Jesus in their heart like I did.
Tito, what would you tell parents? Because there's parents watching this show that love their children, but they see their kids kind of going off in the wrong direction. What would you tell those parents?
I would tell those parents, they have to love them. That's the number one key. You have to love them no matter what. That you child, you brought them to this world. God gave it to you. You're responsible to them. Not the Sunday school pastor. Not the pastor, or the church. You responsible for your child, and you gotta love them. And sometimes, they come from broken family, and sometimes they come from divorce. But as a father, you should never, stop loving your kid. You should, always trying to encourage them. And then my advice to parents is, to pray for them. No matter what you see, no matter what they do, you got to pray for them, because prayer is the key, to soften, their heart and to have the opportunity, to serve God in the future.
Mm-hmm. Prayer is powerful. I mean, that's part of your whole story of your life. Your life is an answer to prayer. And then to see how you're praying for your own kids.
Yes, I came from a strong foundation, grandmother, prayer warrior. My father was a very strong man. He was a prayer warrior also, my dad. And then I spoke to my kid, about that. In the past, I said, my daddy always pray for me. I'm gonna do the same thing to you guys. I'm gonna pray for you guys, And I don't care what you guys do right now, but I'm gonna keep continuing to pray for you guys until you guys, get the message. But the most important thing is when you sow the seed. Once you sow the seed, like the Bible says, train the child the way they should go. When they get older, will not depart. So that's the case, on me, and that's the case on my oldest son. And now he's serving the Lord because that's the way I taught him when they were younger.
That's great, Tito.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Tito, I know there are folks watching today, and perhaps some even out at MSU, that come from a different country, don't really know the language, they feel kind of alone and maybe like they don't fit. What would you tell them in just a few seconds?
Well, I would tell them, to keep their focus, on their faith. Why their faith? Because, the Bible said, like I said in the beginning, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Once you focus on that and believe that God can help you, you have to do two things. You have to say your prayer, keep your focus and believe that God can help you. Because it is easy, to get discouraged, when you come from different countries, especially when you come to a country like where I came from, 70 degrees all year round. You come to a country with real cold, like Michigan, you can get discouraged, depressed. The most important thing is, to understand, that you're never alone when you have Jesus in your heart.
Yeah, that's so good, Tito. Thank you. Thank you so much for taking time to share your story. And I love the legacy of what your dad passed on to you. I love to see you pass it on to your own kids. So thank you so much, Tito.
My pleasure, no problem.
I was in a blended marriage. My 2 children were younger. His 2 children were grown and out of the house. I didn't realize how stressful my home life had become. It was killing me from the inside out. In March of 2011, I found myself in the hospital fighting for my life. The doctors didn't technically call it a coma, but I ended up in the trauma unit. Death was becoming a reality because my brain activity was diminishing dramatically in a very short period of time. I had told my children, don't let my life end if I have more to do. And my children did remember that, and they fought for me. Miraculously, I woke up. My road to recovery would be long because the swelling of my brain had caused loss of memory and functionality. I had to get somewhere safe to mend and build again. So I accepted my parents' invitation to move in with them. Weeks later, my marriage fell apart when my husband sought out a lawyer and filed for divorce. I'd lost it all. I lived with my mom and dad for 15 months. It was challenging, but my parents provided for all my needs. I had to relearn everything from reading to eating and work to regain my memories. Friends from my church helped too, buying things for me that I needed but couldn't afford. It was amazing how everyone came together. I'm so thankful because they helped me materially, emotionally, and spiritually. God showed me that I needed to trust and I needed to count on other people. And as a result, I reached out to people, my family and friends, my church family, and they helped me through this whole process in an amazing way.
Kim, welcome and thank you so much for being with us today. What an amazing story you have.
It is amazing. Sometimes I don't even believe it all.
It's like coming back to life. I am so glad that God is still in the business of healing lives and restoring lives. It must be so hard sitting here today for you to even imagine how your life slowly slid toward death's door. Talk to me a little bit about that.
You're right in saying it was a slow process. It was a day-to-day process. And when things happen to you a little bit, and you end up in this dark place that you just don't know how you got there.
And I know, Kim, you were very independent. And probably one time your thought process was, I really don't need anybody.
That, if there's one thing that God is working with me on, it's that very thing. I've always been very independent. I've never been able to truly trust somebody, a human, to know that they would be there, that they would be true to their word. And so I shut myself off from really opening up to someone. It saved me from being hurt. And so I took care of everything. And people would say, how can you keep up? How can you do all of this? And really, I didn't feel as though I had a choice. It was something I had to do. So I kept doing that. And boy, when I got sick, I didn't have a choice. I had to stop relying on me. I didn't have me to rely on anymore. So it's been a difficult, troubling, wonderful journey to learn how to lose some of that independence and count on others.
How did you, knowing it's hard to put your trust in people, how did you put your full trust in God to help you when you really needed His help?
I think He prepared me for that because I don't know why, but in my life, I had a very strong faith that God healed me, that I am healed. I spoke the words for years, I am healed, even though the complete manifestation had not occurred. And so I was very strong in that area. I believed it with every ounce of my soul. Other parts of my life were not in order that way, I must confess. But so He had trained me that, this is what faith is, Kim. This is what trust is in me. But I wasn't applying it to the other parts of my life, and which was where I was coming up short. And He needed to teach me that. So I ended up tapping into that knowledge and information that God had given me, the strength that He had given me with all the health issues, and started applying it to everyday issues. So, Kim, you need somebody to fix something for you, ask. So, Kim, you can't lift that box, ask. Simple things like that, which I never would do before. I would have unpacked the box and moved it piece by piece. I wouldn't have asked anyone.
So you were at a place in life where you had to rely on the Lord, and then also you had to rely on some people. And I know you talked about how your church family was such a significant help to you. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, like I said, God definitely made it clear that I'm going to show you how you need to trust others. And He brought just the perfect people in my life all along the way. But it started with just these, I can't even tell you how many people that were praying for me. And that's what I needed at the time. I had found myself living with my parents, my daughter and I, and so we had shelter, we had food. Graciously, they just fed us and took care of us. But we needed prayer for my healing, my recovery, for a job, for a place to live, for us to get back on our feet. And so the prayers that went out were amazing. And then it was little things like my dad handing me a $20 bill from someone at church that wanted me to have it. And I just happened to need $19.96 for something, it was that perfect time. And the anonymous donations for various things. One lady who would help fill my pantry when we did get back into a place to live. And I didn't have a job or the means of working, and so she would make sure that we had food. And another that actually donated the funds to get tires on my car, because we were driving dangerously, my daughter and I. And my mother came and picked up the car and said they want me to take it and have tires changed, and they were changed. And it was all of those types of things. $100 check, well, it was usually cash because I never knew who it was from, here, a tank of gas here, and prayer and encouraging words. They would walk up to me on Sunday and say, God wanted me to tell you. And they would tell me, and it was just perfect words. So yes, it has been a beautiful road. And when I walk in these doors, it doesn't matter when it is, when I walk in, I breathe a sigh of relief, and I know I'm home. I always know I'm home.
Kim, to see the smile on your face today, I know it wasn't always that way. And you've been through some hurtful relationships, and you understand, like so many watching today, the pain and hurt of rejection. Would you talk to me a little bit about that?
I had one day in particular where I couldn't find any hope at all. And I never realized how valuable hopefulness is until it was gone. And I knew I had to fight to get that back. And I didn't know how to do it under those circumstances, but I didn't know how to get out of it. There's so much to have to deal with, How will I feed myself? Where will I live? How will I do this on my own? And so you stay. And it gets worse. And you become more hurt, and it does more damage to you as a person, and it affects the people around you, my children especially. What a terrible thing to see family looking at you and seeing you hurt because of people and what they're doing to you. That's a terrible thing for them to have to witness. But I would deny it and keep going, and I would come into the church and feel good. And I would go and spend time with friends that would uplift me. I had to make a point of bringing good in to my life in the midst of all of the thorns and weeds. And so I purposed to do that. And I purposed to spend time with people that were good to me. And they would speak into my life and help me a great deal. I don't know how. I don't know how people do it without Christ. I don't know what I would do if I thought that I had to fix this all on my own. I couldn't do it. I had tried for years, and I couldn't do it. What do people do? And through the tragedies, I just drew closer to the Lord because He was the only thing that was going to get me through. The only thing. And it might have been through people, but it was Him. He was at the root of everything. He was the one answering the prayers, maybe sometimes later than I had wanted, sometimes immediately. But He was the one answering the prayers. He was the one picking me up, dusting me off, and saying, come on, you can do it. You can do it. Just take one more step and you're there.
Yeah. Well, I know today, Kim, there's a lot of people watching that can relate to the feelings of hurt and rejection. And their story may not be the same as yours, but they know what it feels like. They feel like they're at the end of their rope. What would you tell them? If you have a few seconds, what would you tell them? Who can they put their trust in?
Well, imagine Christ on that cross at Calvary, and He took our sins and He saved us from our illnesses and our sickness. And you know, that's what I see whenever I feel a little low, is I see what He did. We have to rely on Him. Like I said, I don't know how people can do it without it. And you know, the other is, do not lose hope. Yeah. Even if your hope is the simple thing that I managed to sit up in bed today, let that be your hope. Don't lose hope, because that's what will hurt you the most. Just keep your eyes focused on Christ and keep your thoughts focused on hope. That's the best advice I can give.
That's so good, Kim. Look, you're so full of life, and you have so much life yet to be lived and so much love to give. And I just celebrate with you, Kim. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us for Hope Today. And a special heartfelt thank you to our guests. They really are amazing people and dear friends. As you've heard these stories that have been filled with hope, I pray that you've been encouraged, that your heart and your life would like to also experience hope. And I want you to know that there is hope in Jesus for you. In God, there's always hope. I mean, God cares about you, and I care about you too. In fact, I would encourage you, call us if you'd like to pray with someone about a turnaround in your own life. And I invite you to join us at Mount Hope Church this Sunday and experience hope.
We had it made. God created paradise, a special place for us, surrounded by beauty, full of love. But then we messed it up. I messed up. I believed I didn't need God. I thought I knew better. I ran away. We all ran away. With our pride, fear, lies, and shame. With our justification, pain, and hurt. We held to our bitterness, our hatred. We believed that horrible lie. It's too late. What I've done is unforgivable. Father God couldn't love someone like me. I'm all alone. But it's not true. We're not alone. God wants me. He wants you. God changed the story. Born of a virgin, He sent His Son Jesus to take my place, our place. For our mistakes and failures, all the ugliness, He was tortured, humiliated, beaten, and crucified. He was killed for crimes He didn't commit. He bled, and He didn't have to. He chose love beyond anything we could possibly imagine. He came back for me. He came back for you. He defeated death. 3 days, 3 nights. Then Jesus was raised up from the grave, from death to life. He made it possible for us to be reunited with our Father. It all comes down to a choice to be with Him forever, the choice to be blessed. He loved us first. Now, I choose the Father. Father, I choose you.
I choose you.
I choose you.
Mount Hope Church is dedicated to strengthening families and sharing God's message of hope, and is filled with an atmosphere of authentic love and genuine grace. Visit us on a Sunday. I would love to meet you. Experience refreshing worship and creative ministry. Your kids will love Kids Connect, and your teens will thrive in Spin Student Ministry. Meet some of the most amazing people on the planet, people that make Mount Hope such a great place to connect and grow. So come to Hope, come to life.